Good morning, everyone, on this balmy 32-degree morning we got. So what we got today is my personal rig, and what it is a 92 Ford F-350 four-door crew cab long bed. So this is it here. I picked up this truck in February of 2021. And it was in pretty rough shape when I got it. You can see the cutouts there where someone crudely fabricated in a brush guard. I got it out of Salmon, Idaho, and I actually had to trailer it back. It was in pretty sad shape, had a rear crank seal that was out of it, and it had the regular bed on it, but regular bed was pretty beat up as well. My wife got me this Bradford built flatbed for it. It would have been for our anniversary this last year, so I love it. I've always loved the Bradford builds. This truck in particular has always been one of my favorites ever since I was in high school. I always wanted a four-door long bed. They aren't fun in town, but it's a pretty nice little pickup. I do enjoy it. I did just get these rims for it. I bought the rims and tires off a guy. And they're 18-inch, and they're just a good all-terrain tread, so you can still drivable. It's just not super loud on the highway or anything. So what we've got here is we've got a 460 big block, which they are extremely known for their miles per gallon. Just kidding. No, this is she gets about a solid 9 miles a gallon on a good day with the tailwind, especially with the flatbed that I just put on it here a couple months ago. Story goes on this one, when I picked it up, like I was saying, it had a pretty bad rear crank seal leak, so I figured I'd do the right thing. I'd pull the engine out and basically just go ahead and reseal it, kind of do a poor man's rebuild. I decided I would go ahead with it out. I would just roll new rods and mains in, which I did. I inspected the cylinders. They all looked pretty good, and nothing too out of the ordinary. They're still cross hatching in the cylinders. Bearings had some wear on them. Previous owners were pretty rough on the rig. There are some little dings and dents here along the truck, but anyway, pretty still solid enough. Anyway, got it all put back together, and it wasn't too long after that. It was actually in my shop still. It was running, and it tossed a rod. I had a main bearing failure, and anyway, it was not a good day. So I did the right thing, and I at that point just got a junkyard engine from a salvage yard here, my local town, and that I trust, and it came with a warranty on it. So I pulled the engine again for a second time, and the new engine I got, new used engine, supposedly had about 100,000 miles on it, and with the pan off and checking it over, it was pretty close to that, I would say. Still had really good cross hatching in the cylinders. I still had really good, the main bearings, rod bearings, looked like they had about that on them. There was some wear, but there wasn't like what I had with this engine, so maybe a blessing in disguise. I don't know. Anyway, I've put a ton of money into this truck. Aside from the engine, after I got the new used engine put in, we were headed up camping, and on my way back, the transmission went out. The forward clutches went out, and I only had reverse, so that was another repair that I got to do to it as well. Had it built by a very good shop here locally that does phenomenal work, and so I went ahead and got it built for towing. As you can see, I've pulled this behemoth with it. That's 43 feet. So anyway, that's kind of the story behind it. I've put a ton into this truck, and it's my pride and joy. I know it ain't much to look at, but it's a good old truck that I've put the money into it. She's knocking on 31 years old this next year, but we've taken it all over. I've put quite a few miles on it. And one thing that I really want to do today, that I need to take care of, is the radiator. So as you can see, I put a Champion radiator in it. It's a 3-core. I got it off of JEG'S website. It's been a great radiator. However, it has started leaking again, and it appears to be leaking from the core itself, from what I can determine. I'll know more once I get it out. I love the radiator. It's kept this truck cool while I've pulled with it. I pull a skid steer with it occasionally, with a homemade trailer for that, and it works amazing. It's never overheated once. It may get a little warm when I'm really working it, but I mean, it's been a great radiator. But shout out to JEG'S. They are awesome to work with. I called them up a few days ago, told them what was going on, and they were very helpful. They sent me a packing list so I can get it sent back in warranty, lifetime warranty on it. Well worth the money, I feel like, even though it did start leaking again. I would definitely get this product again. So without further ado, we'll get pulled in the garage here, and we'll start draining the coolant and get the radiator pulled out. Okay, so we got her pulled in the garage here. As I mentioned previously, I had a shop before this. We just bought this place. It's been just a few months, but I had a nice shop at my last house, and I really enjoyed it. That's where I was able to do the engine swap and all that. But this is my current accommodations. Not huge. This is what they called in the listing an oversized 2-car garage. If I moved all my junk out of the way over there and actually pulled this truck in all the way, I might be able to close the door. It's going to be tight though. Definitely if we pulled my wife's Suburban in, it would be a very tight fit. So kind of got all this tucked away in here for the winter. Kids' motorcycles and all that. Grandpa's 3-wheeler. Anyway, maybe there'll be some future episodes on those, but for today we'll get started on doing our rad swap here. So I will get you guys set up here and we'll start pulling on it and see if we can get her pulled out. Guys, so we're back here in the garage. Got a couple things set up. I was trying to find my holder for my phone while I did this, but yeah, I lost that. So there's $7.99 I'll never get back. But anyway, here we are down here. We're just going to loosen the petcock and we're going to let this drain out. Already made sure we didn't have any pressure on the cap. Got it loosened up, and we'll just proceed with that. So what I'm using here today, I tried to get it loose by hand, but I apparently reefed on that way too much last time. But I got this nice little tool here I picked up. I can't remember where, but I've had it almost my entire career as a technician, and great little tool to invest in. Just gonna loosen that. Got a cleanest dirty bucket I could find to drain all my coolant in. There we go. Just open this up. I do like these radiators. They are very good. I do like this petcock. It's a brass one. Very nice to use. So, I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking what kind of coolant I run. And this particular engine I've run John Deere CoolGuard 2. It's a great coolant, very good cooling capacity and ability. I've worked at John Deere dealerships most of my career, and I figure if they trust that product enough to run in their $80,000 plus engines, they can run in my 31-year-old beater here. So we'll let this drain and we'll start removing the stuff. All right, so we're letting this continue to drain here. I'm going to start getting the fan off. One thing you can do is I leave the belts on, and I'll get you in here and show you what I'm talking about. So you can see down here that it's easier to keep that tension on. That way you can pull your fan. You got to pull the fan out in order to get your radiator out. So pull your shroud out and everything too. So this is the way I've done it. There's probably other ways. I've been a mechanic in the ag industry my entire career, but potato, I guess. So there is an easier way. Feel free to share it. I found this to be the easiest. I'm of the adage, work smarter, not harder, and this is the way that I do it. So, and it's worked out great for me. Set those right there so we can knock them off and lose them forever. Here. Just got two more on the bottom there. We'll go ahead and get this knocked off quick and go from there. What I want to show you guys here is when I was taking out them last two bolts, there's a lot of tension on this pulley here that, for a water pump. So what I went ahead and did is I loosened the mounting hardware for the alternator, let it sag down, and then I'm holding up the tensioner pulley for the serpentine belt on the AC pump. And by doing that, it takes the tension off and I get the bolts out. So it's a little tech tip for the day for you. One thing you want to check for on your viscous drive fan clutches here is this bimetallic piece of metal here relies on the heat coming from the radiator. It's very sensitive to the heat. As you start to get up to operating temperature, what will happen is this will actually heat up and turn this little shaft and lock the fan in to turn the same speed as the engine speed or a variation thereof. This is a fairly new unit, but I know I replaced it when I did the engine for the second time. So as you can see here, if you look down right at the bottom, not at the drip tray there, but right here where my flashlight is, you can kind of see where there's a lot of coolant that's kind of built up. And so we definitely got an issue going on there, but we'll just keep ripping and tearing here. We definitely got an issue though, and we'll see if we can get this rad out here in the next couple minutes. All right, got an update here. So we're just letting this finish draining out here. It's right at the tail end. I'm trying to save as much of this coolant as possible. It's a really good coolant, and I just hate to see it go to waste. And so I'm trying to hang on to as much as I can. Over here, I got the upper and lower ATF lines unhooked from the cooler. That's the other great thing about this radiator is it's a factory replacement. Really the only things you need to bring over from your old radiator is your adapters to go from your pipe thread to your ATF lines. Biggest thing there is just don't get overzealous with them and strip it out when you're putting in your adapters. Obviously if you have a manual transmission, you don't have to mess with any of that, but I'm just kind of letting that collect down there, just in an old washer fluid bottle. Biggest thing is when they go back together, we're going to want to top off everything, mainly the ATF as well, just because we don't want to run that transmission low on oil and really cause us grief, especially when we just got it rebuilt. So all right, so we got everything undone there. We're just what I went ahead and did is took my mounting bolts out. I just got two 10mm bolts on either side. I kind of got the radiator propped up at an angle here, letting gravity do some work for me so that we can save some more. You still always got a bunch in the block that likes to gush out when you pull your lower rad hose. So I'm just trying to save as much of that as I possibly can. In my experience, there's really no good way, unless you've got a drain on your block, to get 90% of it out. You pull that lower rad hose and it's just gonna come flowing out, but this should help some. So while we're letting that radiator finish draining out, I thought I'd come out and show you guys what I got here. This is a 1942 Ford pickup, pre-war, pre-World War II. She's 80 years old. I like a vehicle with a good story, and the story goes with this. My dad acquired this truck from one of his previous employers. That when his boss sold the business, he gave this to my dad as kind of a parting gift, if you want to call it. And it sat in one of our lean-tos on our farm for probably at least 3 or 4 years. It's sat outside for probably the better part of a couple of decades, honestly. I remember being a little kid, and I'd go to work with my dad and see this parked at my dad's boss's house, and I loved it. And so I traded some work for it for my dad. He needed some work done to a couple of rigs at his place, and so he said, "You do that, I'll just give you that pickup." So one thing, so I had to pause the video there to get this opened up. It doesn't have any of the hood prop hinges, so I got to use my snow scrape there. But so this truck's had a few modifications done over the years. I don't know if you noticed when we walked around the first time, someone kindly swapped in a Chevy rear axle. So that's fine, I guess. The other thing is this is not the original 6-cylinder this came with. These older rigs, they don't have a serial number plate up in the dash like the new ones do. This one's partially covered, but it's right down here. You can kind of see part of it right there. I'm told that there's a few places that they'll have the serial number stamped into the frame. So I decoded that right after I got it and came to determine that yes, it is a 1942 Ford pickup. This is before I was able to get the title for it from my parents, but it is a 1942, and the GC in there indicated that it is a half-ton and a 6-cylinder. So it came from the factory in 1942 with a 6-cylinder. Someone has since swapped in the powertrain, so the engine and the transmission, from I was told, a 1965 Ford Falcon. And I was able to determine that too. Right down, I apologize, it's kind of hard to see, but right down there you have a C5DE. Now the C indicates that it came out of a Ford Falcon. The 5 indicates that it's a 1965. D would indicate that it is a Ford 200. Ford had built 3 inline 6s. The first one was a 175, and then the 200 was next. The 175 and 200 had cast-in intake manifolds into the head, like you see here. I knew I had to have one of the smaller ones when I first glanced at it. My father-in-law, a number of years ago, rebuilt a 200 for his dad's Mustang that he had. So I knew it had to be one of the smaller ones, so I was able to decode that and figure all that out. I haven't had a chance to get this thing running yet. I'm honestly kind of not sure what to do with it. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to just watch it rot away. I saved it from the scrap. My dad was just going to get rid of it. He had kind of it was too much for him to try and figure out and worry about, and so he gave it to me. And so I want to try and figure out something I can do with this old rig. I know it's not the most sought after. They call these these are the gel bar Fords, and you know, you can see the grill's got a little bit of damage there. It's missing one of the slats, but I still think it's a pretty cool old truck. It does have a few issues. The transmission's stuck, and it does have these custom exhausts that they put on that are no longer hooked up, so I'm gonna have to delete on those. But and then I don't like that it's got the Chevy rear end. Having a 6-lug and a 5-lug just seems silly to me. So I would like to probably try and redo this some way or another. Taking a glance inside here, it's got some severe mouse infestation, so that's all going to need to be redone. It definitely has. They swapped in the Ford Falcon seats here. The rear glass is busted. It's all here. It's just, it's been, yeah, kind of let go for the last probably 60 years, I would say. But I do want to do a few modifications to this if I can. I know some people are die hard, keep it original, but I think I want to do something a little different here, and it may be frowned upon, but I really want to try and do a chassis swap, put a 5-liter V8 in it, which is more horsepower than this truck ever came from the factory with. It had a, if I remember right, it was under 100 horse that factory 6-cylinder came with. The flathead V8 models had 90 horse, so putting a 5-liter V8 in it would definitely be an improvement on horsepower. As far as the paint goes, I really want to just keep it how it is. Leave it with this patina. It's got a bunch of different colors coming through. It looks like it at one point had some yellow on the fenders. Back here, some orange on the bed, orange up here on the cab, and then up here you got a little bit of dark green, yellowish, orangish. So I'm not sure. I'm still trying to decide what I want to do there. But I would like to keep it original for sure with the paint. But comment below, see what would you guys do with this old rig. I definitely want to enjoy it. I don't want it to rot around anymore. It is sat for, like I said, at least 2 decades. My dad's boss, he was able to drive it about 45 minutes from where he bought it to his home, which is about 20 minutes north of where I live. However, I have never personally seen it run. I trailered it over here to my house, but I do definitely want to enjoy this. My kids love it, so that's gonna come in the future. Well, she's done draining here. Went to go take this lower radiator hose clamp off, and the screw came out, so that's great. I swear you can't find a decent clamp. I know I replaced these when I did this radiator a few months ago, so that's frustrating that it lasted 2 seconds. So I guess I'll just have to change that out. Well, I got the radiator out. I got it sitting over here. So it does look like, from what I can tell, we had some coolant leaking out where these tubes were welded in to this be on the right side tank. So this is at the back side of the radiator here facing the engine. So anyway, we'll get this buttoned up and see if we can get it sent off this week sometime so that we can get it warranted through JEG'S. Like I said, they've been super good to deal with. I don't know any of you guys deal with them, but I called them right up and they were more than happy to help accommodate and figure out a solution to the problem. So looks like there's a little bit of an incomplete weld there, so maybe that had something to do with it. I'm honestly not sure without being able to have that in a tank to figure out exactly where the leak was coming from. So anyway, I'll button this up. Just a couple other quick ideas for you guys here too. Obviously, you know, this is going to be setting for a little bit before I can get back to it. You want to make sure if you got an automatic transmission, you don't want to be getting any moisture into that. So one thing I'm going to do is put some plastic bags around these fittings. We're on our third winter over here this year so far. If any of you are from the great state of Idaho, that tends to happen every year. Just with all the added moisture in the air, I want to keep that protected where I can't keep it in a shop or anything. Definitely we're leaking. That's the tray there. I think I'm going to replace this lower radiator hose too. I was taking it off and felt the spot where it was rubbed pretty flat there. So we'll change that out too with some new clamps and have her up and running just as soon as we get a new rad. Anyways, thanks for watching today, guys. Let me know what you think on this 42 Ford over here. I'm really excited to get started with it. I'm hoping that once the weather warms up, we can get out here. And like I said, I really want to see about doing a chassis swap on it, getting a Ford Explorer, something of that sort that had the 5-liter in it. They are getting kind of tough to come by, but I think it'd be a cool old truck with a modern update to the chassis, just to make it a little more drivable, but still maintain some of the patina from this 80-year-old Survivor that is just a true classic. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.